Hey, welcome to Module 4.7. Where's the trainer been? This module should have been up a week ago. What's been going on with this guy, Matt LeClaire? I'm sorry it's taken so long to get this module up. We had some clients got a little I don't want to say nervous, but they got a little shaky coming around the first of the year, and I had put a lot of effort into this course, so I had to jump in and build some links, and I'm still building links, but I got plenty of time to finish this course because we got good things coming up after this, too, for the modules 5, 6, 7, and 8. And if you check your inbox, you should have a notification from me on how to get registered for that. But let's move forward with Module 4.7. Crafting your first private message to your golden prospect. Are you ready? Well, let's do it. All right, let's talk about the subject line. Subject line is important. Why is the subject line important? Because, that should be down here. Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look. Okay. Why is the subject line so important? Because if you screw it up, you're going to lose out on an opportunity. You may not blow your chance of earning a link with your golden prospect, but you're going to delay it. And you may delay it for a long time. Because if he or she thinks you're just another link builder that like all the other ones that reach out to them, then you're going to have a hard time getting past them. So you can't screw up the subject line. And if you're going to excel at link building, your subject line has to become excellent. You have to learn how to get your prospects' attention, because basically when I go to my inbox, I'm first looking for leads, right? No, I'm not. First, I'm looking for messages from my clients. Then I'm looking for leads. Then I'm looking for questions from you guys that are taking the course. After that, I don't much care what's in my inbox. Anything else can wait. I'm busy. And your prospects are busy too. So getting past their filter happens at the subject line. So boring gets deleted. What else gets deleted? Spammy gets deleted. Well, you know what? And let me tell you how you get past your golden prospect. Where'd it go? Here it is. Don't look. Who's peeking? Goodness gracious, look at this. Mama, help. There it is. It's coming. I got it. Okay, now I'm going to close that. All right. Now, well, this should be down here. I'll get it right. Sorry. This mind map's weird. It's cheap, though. All right. Don't screw up the subject line. Boring gets deleted. Spammy gets deleted. What about this one there on the bottom? I can prove to you I'm your biggest fan, Eric. That's the one I used to get Eric's attention. And that'll get your golden prospect's attention too. If you mention them by name and use something like that where, hey Eric, I love your stuff. Let me prove it to you. Something like that. Hey Joe, your content rocks. I read it all. Let me prove it. And then what you do is you bypass all that boring content and all those boring subject lines and all those spammy subject lines that your prospect has to go through. Wait a minute, who's this person sending me an email? I can prove to you I'm your biggest fan. Who is this person? How do you prove to your golden prospect that you're their biggest fan? Well, that's simple. Let me get this down here. Get rid of this. You start the first paragraph of your message out by listing several facts that you've learned about him or her while you were doing your research. It's that simple. With Eric, I think I said something like, "Hey Eric, I can prove to you I'm your biggest fan. First of all, I know that you love archery and that you and your son are big into it, yet you're not hunters. You just love the target shoot. You also love baseball. Your son pitches, plays third base. Your other son plays left field. And also your daughter is in dance. So I just wanted to let you know I've watched all your videos and read all your content." And so what that does is that put me ahead of all the other emails he was getting. Now you can do the very same thing with your prospects. Now what happened is, in Eric's case, I was already talking to him on the phone, and I didn't get the response back from Eric via email saying, hey, yeah, I loved your email. Well, what he did is the next time we spoke, it was brought up, so I know he had seen it and he read it. And basically, what I suggest you do is start your first paragraph out listing what you know about them and for what you've read. It could be their philosophy about your industry, about their way of doing business, about press they've received. You don't want to go on and on and on, but you want to prove to him or her that you really read their content, and that will get you past their spam radar, and that's a good thing. So start your first paragraph out just by sharing several facts that you know about him or her. Now what do? You ask to interview them. Yes, I told you about the interview in the previous module, but if you want to get the attention of your prospect on your first outreach to him or her, ask to interview them. And in interviewing them isn't that hard at all. And even if they turn you down for the interview, you're still honoring him or her just with the request. So let me show you how to play this out so you get some good social capital from it. All right, let me close all this. All right, so at this point, you asked to interview them. You started the email out. You did subject line, letting them know that, hey, I'm your biggest fan. Let me prove it to you. And then you used their name. And or something now, I've used this on prospects too. I bet you didn't know I was your biggest fan, Joe. I bet you had no idea that I was your biggest, stuff like that. And just something that just gets their, okay, who's this? Who's this? Now, if you send this response to them via their newsletter that you opt into, then your chances of success will go in a lot higher, because prospects, you can get their attention. I said this before in other modules, by opting into their newsletter, replying to their newsletter, thanking them for it once or twice, and giving little notes. Hey, great notes of encouragement to them. Hey, great newsletter, you loved it. That kind of stuff. And then when you're ready to do your outreach, you could do it by replying to their newsletter. And you reply to their newsletter, you don't even have to worry about the subject line, because that's written for you by them. And they're going to check it. So it gets past all the filters that they have in their mind. So this is the best subject line, is a reply to a newsletter. But if you go in cold, or if they don't have a newsletter, pique their interest with something like, I've read your content, all your content. Let me prove it to you, Joe. Something like that. And you'll be amazed at you'll get more opens and clicks and responses that way. So just by saying, you're not the usual person who slamming them with a bot. I mean, you're the 1 in 100 that's reaching out like legitimately, who researched them. As much effort that you put into the research, you got to put in you got to let them know. Not to brag on yourself, but just let them know you're not a typical prospect. You're not a typical person reaching out to them. And you're not. You're different. You don't just care about the link. You don't want to just hit and run. You want to build a relationship or a really strong connection. You want to help your golden prospects, so you're not like the other people. So you should know their story well enough where you could put together really good interview questions. And you could 10, I suggest 10, but maybe 5 if you want to keep it shorter. But if you've researched them and you get past their filter, and you start that first paragraph out by stating everything you've learned from reading from their content, not just say, I love that post on such and such, like everybody else does, and it's all fake and they know it. And you know, people love to have their content read. They love to be acknowledged, but they really hate it when somebody flatters them, because that acknowledgement that they want and they love and that helps them probably get through the day. We all love a shot of acknowledgement from people, especially when it's like encouraging. So when they get a flattery one that's just obviously fake, and the person hasn't even visited their site, it's just real shallow, and it makes them feel I don't know, like they don't matter as much. And that's a horrible way to make a human being feel. And it's a horrible way to build a relationship with them. So, yeah, read their content and put 10 really good interview questions together for them. And then what you do is let me tell you what. Let me close this. This is an unwieldy one. All right. Some things you need to keep in mind. Tell your prospect that you do not expect him or her. Tell him right off, I'd like to view you, and I do not expect you to link back to it or share to it. In fact, I won't even ask you. The only reason I'm writing it is because, we'll get into that in a minute. But tell them, say it outright. I will not ask you to link to it or to share to it. I just want to create the interview because I want to because I want to introduce you to my readers. And why is that a good thing? Because, let's go up here. Most experts, they view interview requests as a ploy to earn a link. Yeah, who would have guessed it, right? Link builders, we're a dirty dog bunch, man. We love our links, and they're like a bone, and we'll dig to get that bone. But most experts, they view those interview requests, this person's only doing it to get a link. And to get something for themselves instead of something for me. And this is just another vampire coming into my life. And so you have to dispel that notion right at the beginning, right at the very beginning. That way you have a chance to, this person does like my content and has read it all and has written 10 really awesome questions. And that's what Eric Ward said to me. I remember they say that a lot. Wow, those are unlike any other questions I've ever been interviewed about. Yeah, because most people are they don't understand how these interview questions isn't to do a news report. It's to give them 10 opportunities to show themselves as an expert. So when somebody on your site reads it, they go looking him or her up to learn more about them and maybe buy something from them. You want to refer business to them. You're a referral partner. It's the only reason you're doing this interview. You're doing it to help him or her. And it's also going to give you some content on your site. What's the best way to establish authority on your site when you have no authority? I told you ways about building a book or put a book on it and turn it into a virtual classroom and all those great things. Those things are great. But what if you don't have all that stuff? Well, then you start singing the praises of other people, of your golden prospects instead of your own praise. And people will believe it because you're singing somebody else's praise. And you're singing in somebody's praise who's big in the industry. And when they start liking you and they link to you and refer you, you're going to make money. And that's a good thing. But dispel the notion that you're just trying to do it for a link. And by saying, I don't want a link. I just want to introduce you to my readers because I know it'll help them. And that's what I said to Eric, because I meant it, because I said, your brain, I want to introduce your brain to my readers. They need it. They need it as much as I do. I'm not going to hoard it, just all of it for myself. And if your website's only talking about yourself and your prospects, I understand that. I mean, that's what most businesses are. But what if you sing the praises of other people in your industry on a section on your site? That'll set you apart from other people. All right, and it'll make your other stories seem a lot more believable because you're not bragging on yourself. You're bragging on somebody's, that's worthy of bragging. And if you are worthy to be bragged about, somebody else will brag about you. You don't have to brag about yourself, but you should brag about somebody, and that's your golden prospect. That's why it's important that you select your golden prospects properly. All right, so what you're going to do also is to include those 10 interview questions at the bottom of the message. That's crucial too. And why is that crucial? Because, you can let them know that, hey, I know you're busy. And here are the questions. So you don't know that, so you know what you're getting into. And then when they see your questions, they'll like your questions. Remember, you spend enough time on their site and then researching them, you better put 10 good questions together. And I won't get into how to conduct an interview because if you want to Google how to conduct an interview, it's hard to get past all the stuff on there about job interviews. So research how to conduct a podcast interview, and that'll give you good questions. But for the most part, I would say, hey, in your article that you're talking about this and this, maybe their most recent article, you made a bold statement that link building is dead. and that PR is the only type of thing that's going to save SEO agencies. Can you tell me, please, what you meant by that? And that'd be one question. And they look at that, so that gives them an opportunity to pimp out their current content. Then ask them a question about another post. Then ask them a question about their services. Then ask them a question about their books, and work your way down their sales funnel. The whole way down. Start out with their free content, then ask questions about their paid content, then work your way down the funnel until you ask them a question about their most expensive content. Then you ask them how they can how your readers can get in touch with them to learn more of this stuff. And then they'll give their website address. Now, what are the chances that your prospect will link to something like that? Pretty good. But that's not where you want to stop, because if you interview somebody and they link back to you, SEO geeks, you'll understand that if you give them a no follow link to their website in the interview, and they're to link back to you with a do follow link, supposedly that gives more page rank to your website and your rankings go up. But if you were to put a do follow link on the interview when you're linking over to your Golden Prospect site, that is supposedly could run into problems with the reciprocal link, and maybe you don't get a penalty from it, but you just don't get anything from it. And so it's important that you make that decision for yourself. Every link that I give out to my prospects, golden prospects, are do follow. And if it's a silver prospect that I trust, I'll do a do follow. And that's what it's for. I just don't really care what Google thinks. I care what my prospects think, because they're the ones that supply my business with more business. So that's my mentality and in how that and the linking goes. Now, if you just hit and run and you score a link on the interview link and that's it, well, and you gave them a do follow link, at this point really all you have is a reciprocal link. The fact that it's to somebody big in your industry, I don't see that hurting your site. Especially now, what'll happen if you get a bunch of interview pages and all the links are coming back to the interview pages, and now you're starting to page sculpt and you're starting to put interior links on those interview pages, linking over to your money pages, then I don't know, then you may get in trouble with an algorithm or two. But really, you're only interviewing them. Even if they don't allow you to interview them, if they're too busy, they still saw that you read their content. They still saw you wrote out 10 awesome questions. You still just made a huge first introduction with your golden prospect. Huge. Because it's not going to cost you any money. It's not a bulk order. It's none of that. It's just wanting to help promote him or her to your readers. Now, what if you don't have the reader? Now, let me tell you this tactic works. It really works if you have a lot of traffic on your website and you're reaching out to other people in your industry. For instance, if you're running a campaign that's helping, I can't give you my client's information. Let me think of something else. If you're running a website that sells hot dogs, and that'd be a cool website, but if you're running a website that sells hot dogs and you want to get links, what you do is you find the greatest mustard vendors in the country, the golden mustard prospects. Then you interview them, and you put those links onto your site, and then you reach out to those, and they link back to it. Now you have just started relationships with vendors in your niche, in your industry. So what can you do at that point with that information? Do you just stick with those links, or do you go deeper with those links? Do you just rush in to the point where you leave, or do you just keep building that relationship, then reach out and ask for a resource link if it's applicable? There's a lot of different things you can do to build relationships up this way and to introduce yourself. Now, does this tactic work with silver prospects? Yes, but here's where it gets careful. Here's where you got to be careful. your reader's going to like your golden prospects because they're the best in your industry, right? But are they going to care about your silver prospects? Not as much, unless you can come up with interesting angles to present the questions and make it interesting to your readers. You don't want to forget the readers on your site. You want to give them good content. You don't want to just put junk interviews together just to put something on your site and get a link back. This is something much more than that. This is something where you're building relationships up with people in your industry, and you're starting out by getting them, what? By getting them an interview, and by respecting them, by showing them what you've researched, and then by putting those good questions together. Then you go, like I said, you go deeper into the relationship with him or her. But what if your site isn't big? What if, so getting back to the hot dog site, what if you sell 1 million hot dogs a year from your site? And you reach out to a mustard vendor and you say, by the way, I'm from hotdog.com and we want to interview you. Why? Because all we do is talk about hot dogs and we don't sell mustard. But you know what? Our clients say they like mustard. So our customers rather like mustard. So they're going to buy lots of mustard. And you know what? We might as well send them to you and a few select other people. So, hey, we'd love to interview you and feature your mustard on our hot dog site. What do you think? Well, of course they're going to like that, especially if you have selling 1 million hot dogs a year. So now, as a link builder, this campaign is, as an agency, you get hired by a client that has some clout in their industry. This is a home run. This is an absolute home run, because every one of these not everyone, but most of the vendors are going to want a piece of your traffic. And if you're willing to give them a piece of your traffic, or your client's traffic, and your client's willing to do it, then you know what? That's a good relationship. You just cemented a link, not a backlink, but a relationship to the point where you now have a solid foundation to the beginning of a relationship, just because you reached out and asked for the interview. Now, will the mustard sites link back to you? Yes. If not, big deal. Who cares? You cemented a relationship with them. You're in. You're in. You did good things. You're in the good club at that point. All right, let me go into some other things. All right, how to conduct the interview. I won't get too much into that. The questions should be, like I said, first question write questions about their free content in a way that lets them pitch it and compliment it in the question. And then ask a question about their first tier products, and it could be $9 ebooks, the tip of the spear in their marketing funnel, so to speak. Then you ask questions about their mid-level services or products, and then their high dollar ones. And then you ask how prospects can get in touch with them. And if you want to throw in some filler questions in there too, just Google podcast interview questions, and you'll come up with some good ideas. All right. Where can you hold? Now, what if they want to? Okay, two things. First of all, what if they grant you the interview? What do you do? Oh no, what am I going to do? You have two options. You can do a voice interview, a conversation, or you can do an email interview. Email interviews are infinitely easier, though I like the voice interviews because it gives me an opportunity to talk to the prospect, and it'll give you an opportunity to talk to the prospect too, thus taking your relationship a step further. Let me show you. All right, what software can you use to do the recording if you're going to conduct a live recording? Well, it's going to be just you and the prospect, and then you record it, and then what you do is, you go to GoToMeeting.com. You can use them. They record real nice, and also Free Conference Call. I think I use them the most to conduct interviews. And what you do is set up a time, and then set up the call thing, give them the call-in information that Free Conference Call gives you. You meet them there, get there 10 minutes early, maybe 15 minutes early in case they get there early and they're in a hurry and they're trying to get through it. Just get there 15 minutes early, be ready, have all your questions there, and be ready to rock. And these are the service that I recommend. First 5 minutes when your prospect gets on before you start recording small talk. Tell them what you liked about their content and website and business book and podcast, and that you're meaning this to be a soft interview because you just want to refer traffic to them and you refer your readers to him or her. And you figured this was the best way to do it rather than you writing a post about them. And just because you want it to be authentic. So keep that in mind. Keep the interview once you start recording under 15 minutes. They're busy. They're very busy. Also, after you're done recording, thank him or her for their time and let them, and mean this too, because this is your golden prospect. Let them know how stoked you were that they agreed to be interviewed by them after the interview is over. Because you say that at first, it kind of makes you look like a rookie. But after you nail the interview, it's, man, I was so stoked when you answered, when you said you'd do the interview. I did a little happy dance, and I was going to record it for you, but it was kind of ugly and embarrassing. So I just figured I'd tell you I really was happy that you let me interview you. And that goes a long ways, and mean it. Now, what if you're too shy to conduct a phone interview? Well, guess what? You're going to have to ask your prospect. Well, you're going to overcome your shyness. That's one option. It's a scary option. The other option is to email. You already emailed them their questions. Ask them just to email, instead of saying, hey, let's schedule a time, say, can you email me back your answers if you want to do this? They'll do it. They'll write the answers down and send it back. Maybe they won't, but I don't want to say a high percentage do, because sometimes for client campaigns and you're in a window and then you do the campaigns, and sometimes the link and responses can come like 2 months later, or you do a follow-up campaign after a couple months, and then all of a sudden they're all responding because they in their mind they were thinking they were supposed to get back to you even though they just deleted it or whatever. And then there's something clicks in their mind when you follow up. Follow-up messages are big. If you want to get more links, send more follow-up messages. All right. But that's what I suggest you do there. Also, remember, this is the intro email, or LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever you got them at. All right. So what if they don't respond back to you for the interview request? Well, that's easy. Wait 5 days, send them an email, and just say, hey, I sent you a previous email. I want to make sure it didn't end up in the spam folder. Now, that shows that, hey, this person's going to keep following up with me. They mean business. They didn't just hit and run. They mean business. So they may wait for you to follow up. But even if that's when the link comes or when the answer comes and they make you wait, it's not like they're doing it on purpose. They're busy. So don't think that, that you rushed them into something. They're just busy. All right. After 5 days, if they don't respond, okay, so after 5 days, after sending your initial email, come back here, wait 5 days, send a follow-up email, make sure that, hey, I'm just making sure that you got my previous email and that it didn't end up in your spam folder. Then, if that doesn't work, wait a couple more days and then hop on the phone. Yeah, hop on the phone. And that's where the relationship will be built, is on the phone. So you can build relationships via email. You certainly can, but it's a lot easier on the phone. It just cuts through a lot of clutter for your prospect, and get them laughing, and you got it made. All right, so let me see. And then when you get them on the phone, it's, hey, I emailed you last week. I'd love to interview you. Not because I want a link from you. In fact, I'm not going to ask you to link to it or share to it. I just want to introduce you. Then you basically go over your intro letter that you sent. And don't read the interview questions, but then just ask to interview them. And then that's what you do. Now, what if you leave a voicemail and you don't hear back? Or if your prospect tells you no? Well, the introduction has been made. Congratulations. You did it slick. You did it wise. And you did it with integrity. You didn't use flattery, and you didn't come in with your own needs, and it didn't take a bulk order to do it either. All it took was you asking to do the interview. Now, does that mean you earned a link at this point? Not at all. That's what we're going to talk about in another module, how to get the link once you Well, this could get you the link. Once you get the interview up, what I suggest you do, and I should have put something down in here, but you're going to have to sexy it up a little bit. And I don't mean by you don't just take their answers and transcribe them if it's on a voice and then put the audio and then the transcription underneath, because that can look kind of ugly. You got to dress it up. It's got to be something that they want to link to. Remember I talked to you about those NFL colors? Make sure you use something like that on that page. Make sure the page looks nice and they're not going to be embarrassed to link to it. Because if they link to something looking like garbage, then other people see that they link to that interview. Guess how many interview requests they're going to get? Yes. So they're a little nervous about that kind of stuff. So get your site in order, because it's going to house an interview maybe with your golden prospect. So that's what I recommend you do with your initial outreach with your golden prospect is conduct the interview, ask to interview them, use the subject line like I said. Make sure that in your first paragraph you share everything that you learned about them, at least enough to let them know, okay, yeah, this person's read everything about me in my books. And so that's a natural thing. Now, could you do something other than an interview? Yeah. Let's say after your first introduction and your first paragraph, say I read everything, then you can mention your bulk order. Then you can mention the fact that that you like their books so much that you got them onto a newsletter. You can do all that. But before you can get that social capital for doing that good things, you have to get your prospects' attention. And you get your prospects' attention with that subject line that piques their interest, or by replying to their newsletter. And then what you do is you open with that paragraph, set yourself apart from everybody else, show yourself to be a researcher, then start working the relationship in by showing them also your interview questions and then wanting to share them with your readers on your site. And that's the way I recommend you go about that. There's another way you could do it too. If your site doesn't get a lot of traffic and your prospect's looking at it and they're like, well, you got a brand new site, no one's going to see this. You say, I'm going to buy $500 worth of traffic and send it to this interview. And that interview, and $500 is going to be Facebook traffic, and I'm going to be targeting XYZ, and it's going to be their exact target audience that they're trying to sell those products you ask questions about. So, yes, just use your noggin. This is a great intro. This is just one of many intros, but regardless of what you're asking after the second paragraph, start it the subject line, like I said, and then also have that first paragraph, and you're going to be able to put in a memorable first impression with your prospect. So that's it on 4.7. I'm going to get this rocking out so I can get 4.8 up for you. I'll see you over there. Bye now.